What we need is not more medication, but more education, because the best prescription is knowledge. This is Expose coming to you live from Lagos, Nigeria, every Monday on Instagram, YouTube, and Facebook simultaneously. And I'm your regular host, Akinyemi. Don't forget, what we need is not more medication, but more education, because the best prescription is knowledge. Welcome to Expose. I'm your regular host, Akinyemi. It's always my joy to be your host, and I want to thank you up front for joining us today again, as usual. Please remember to subscribe to our YouTube channel, to like us on Facebook, and to follow us on Instagram, because this is being transmitted or streamed simultaneously on these three platforms. Tell your friends, tell your neighbors. You never can tell. The information they receive from here may be a life saver. It may be a life improver. It can help them on their wellness journey. Now, this has been brought to you by the Shepherd's Flock International Church. We are for purity, power, and prosperity. God has raised this commission to raise holy, healthy, and highly successful people. And we've been talking about 7 natural factors that can contribute to disease initiation, disease progression, disease development, and can impede or impair attempts to reverse disorders or disease conditions. We call them causes of disease. In medical parlance, they call that the etiology of disease. Of course, this is from another perspective altogether, from the allopathic paradigm. And I've created an acronym to help us to capture the 7 critical factors that can cause disease. And I use the word or the acronym DATIISS, DATIISS. That is the cause of disease. D stands for deficiency. A stands for abuse. T stands for toxicity. I stands for injury. The second I stands for infection. The first S stands for sedentary living. And the second S stands for stress. So far, we have looked at the first 3. We have looked at deficiencies and the role that deficiencies play in causing diseases. We've looked at the role that abuse plays in causing diseases. We have looked at the roles that toxins play in causing diseases. Today, we progress to the 4th letter in our acronym, and that is the first I, standing for injury. I call that I1, injury. Later, we'll be looking at I2, which is infections. And particularly this season of global pandemic, we need to understand the role that infections plays in causing diseases and how to mitigate them. There are myriads and myriads of remedies and solutions to prevent as prophylaxis or to treat as therapeutics of infections. But today, our focus is on injury, and I welcome you on board. Now, injury can lay the foundation for many diseases or many disease conditions. Many do not realize it. And number 2, when we talk about injury, some of us only think in terms of one type of injury. By the time we are done today, I'm sure you are going to understand the fact that there are 5 different types of injuries at least. And each one of them can precipitate disease. But understand, the first fundamental thing I want you to understand today is that injuries can lay the foundation for disease, long-term disease or disease in the future. Injuries today can cause disease tomorrow. So you need to prevent all forms of injuries. And that is why each one of us must be safety conscious. We need to be safety conscious. There are many things that we take for granted or we are careless or carefree about, and they end up inflicting injuries, either emotional injury or psychological injury or physical injury, and those injuries can then lead on to certain disease conditions. So prevent injuries. Do all that you can to prevent injuries at all levels. That's why when you're driving your car, you remember to wear your seatbelt, whether you are in the driver's seat, in the front seat with the driver, or you are even at the back, particularly if you're on a long haul, if you're on a long journey on the highway, on the expressway, and the vehicle is moving at topmost speed, 100 kilometers per hour as the case may be, you need to wear your seatbelt where feasible. That is one of the safety precautions. Don't hold your phone in your hand and begin to ping or chat while you are walking on the roadside. You can fall into a ditch, particularly in countries where the officials don't care. I mean, you look at some walkways and some pedestrian walkways in major cities in many third world countries, and you see manholes that can swallow a whole human being, and you won't even know a human being has fallen into it. And they are just there. Nobody takes the care to cover them up to prevent injuries. That's the part of the carelessness of political leadership in many third world countries, particularly in Africa. And I pray that our political leaders will begin to wake up to their responsibilities and do the basic things. We are not even asking for too much. Basic things. They will pave our roads. They will not mark the roads. There are no clear lanes. You see vehicles just maneuvering as if you have ants on the road. There is no clear lane. Everybody is just driving and putting their head to wherever there is space. That is anarchy. That's madness. There is no order. That's part of the things that result in accidents and crashes and cause injuries for people. Potholes are there. The other day, a very dear young man that I know, ran into a big pothole while driving on the highway, and his vehicle almost somersaulted. It was God that spared his life and that of his wife, okay? Just because of ramming into a pothole that somebody could have fixed. I mean, how much does it cost to fix these potholes? The officials that are supposed to be on the road for road safety, they don't attend to the things that matter. Instead, they are standing by road corners looking for who to arrest for things like, you're not wearing your seatbelt, oh, fire extinguisher, oh, blah, blah, blah. The things that are death traps on the road that should attract their primary attention, they will not pay any attention to that. It's sad that some of us have to live in environments that inflict injuries on people. Those injuries can cause permanent disability. Some people end up on wheelchairs for the rest of their lives because of injuries. Injuries serve as the fourth major cause of disease, of affliction, of suffering, of disability in human experience. And everybody, from the smallest of us to the biggest of us, from the smallest person to the first citizen of the nation, all of us must pay attention to the causes of injury and remove them so that people can live in safety, so that security, protection of life and property can be provided. There are people who are criminals who inflict injuries on others. They machete people, they shoot people, they kidnap them, take them through rough experiences, and by the time they come out of it, they have been traumatized, and there is emotional trauma, there is psychological trauma, and that inflicts some intangible, injuries upon the people, and you wonder, how could a fellow human being do this to another human being? There are some animals in human skin, I'm sorry to say, who inflict such injuries, emotional trauma, psychological trauma. I mean, you kidnap somebody and the loved ones, the spouse, the children, the parents, the siblings, the friends, the colleagues, the employers, the neighbors, everybody's traumatized for weeks. Just because you want to make money, you don't care the injury that you are inflicting on other people. All of these are dimensions of injuries that people inflict on others. And injuries can lay the foundation for subsequent diseases. That's the first thing I want you to understand. Injuries can contribute to the development of disease, progression of disease, and disability. And number 2, there are at least 5 different types of injuries. These are the 2 things that I want to talk about today, and I want you to pay attention. Give me your ears, please. I'll give you examples of certain diseases that injury can contribute to. First is arthritis. Arthritis is the disease that afflicts major joints in the body. It is a kind of skeletal disorder, musculoskeletal disorder. Affliction that afflicts the joints, anywhere that folds in the body, anywhere that folds, anywhere on the knees, the waist, anywhere that can fold in your body. Where 2 bones meet and they can fold like that, that point can be afflicted with arthritis. Now, there are over 100 different types of arthritis, and one of them is called traumatic arthritis. That's a type of arthritis. Of course, the 2 major types of arthritis that are very popular and commonly known are rheumatoid arthritis and osteoarthritis. But we're not dealing with arthritis today. We're dealing with injury as one of the causes of one of the types of arthritis. Now, injury can lead to a type of arthritis that is known as traumatic arthritis. In other words, a person suffers a trauma. Maybe a person fell or had an accident and injured the knees many years back, and that was not properly attended to. It could be 5 years down the road, 10 years down the road, even 20, 25 years down the road. That particular knee that was injured many years ago begins to suffer. Problems arise from that place, pain, swelling. That knee doesn't function well like the other one that was not injured. Okay? That type of arthritis is known as traumatic arthritis. Arthritis that was occasioned by a trauma in the past, particularly when that trauma, that injury, when it happened, was not well attended to at the time. It can just hibernate for a while, and after several years, it will rear its ugly head, and it will form a form of arthritis that is known as traumatic arthritis. Sometimes when there is trauma or injury to the knee, for example, the cartilage, at the head of the bone can actually crack and lead to pain, and that is a form of traumatic arthritis as well. Injury can even lay the foundation for certain types of cancer. There was a particular young person, a young boy that I saw a couple of years ago. He had a domestic accident and his testicles were crushed. That was injury, physical injury, And that injury laid the foundation for something that developed, and ultimately it developed into a kind of cancer, and it wouldn't heal, and eventually, took the life of that very precious soul. That's why we need to train our young boys in particular, who could be very restless and very aggressive. I call them boy picking. They know how to be they play rough. And we as parents and adults need to watch over them. We need to coach them. We need to train them how not to injure themselves. There was a time one of my nephews, was playing rough in the house and ran through a glass door in the sitting room and shattered the glass door altogether, and broken glass lacerated his body all over the place. That's a kind of injury. Thank God there were adults around to attend to him. That could have led to anything. It could have led to something else. So injury is something we have to be careful about. We have to prevent by all means. Very, very important. Injury can even lay the foundation for hypertension. You might be wondering how. Now, there are things added to refined salt. It's called anti-caking agent. It's like microscopic broken glasses, and they are inside the salt, the refined salt that some of us eat. I don't eat refined salt anymore, and that can be ingested, that can be absorbed into the body, and that microscopic glasses can actually cause injury to the inner layer of the blood vessels, the endothelium. And when the endothelium is injured, what happens is that the body will mobilize cholesterol to plaster that injured portion. And the cholesterol continues to build up and build up and build up and create plaque. Before you know it, it thickens the blood vessel, it narrows the blood vessel, it makes the blood vessel to lose its elasticity. Those of you who have listened to my series, or if you care to watch it again, you can go back to YouTube and check my series on cardiovascular health, and you will see where I explained that and even showed you images of how plaque buildup can take place in a portion of the endothelium where there has been injury. And once the blood vessels are compromised, that's one of the cardinal factors responsible for the development of cardiovascular diseases, including hypertension. The blood vessel is no longer elastic, and then it's narrow, it's thick, it's hard, and that can lead to hypertension. That's how injury can contribute to hypertension. Injury can contribute to diabetes. How? When the pancreas is injured through cellular damage, cellular injury, which I'm going to be talking about, then the pancreas, particularly the cells, the specialized cells that are responsible for producing insulin, they are called the islet of Langerhans, or the beta cells, beta cells. If those cells are injured, they are destroyed, they are damaged, either through autoimmune disorder or any other disorder for that matter, then that individual is no longer able to produce sufficient insulin or not to produce it at all, and then that leads to type 1 diabetes or type 2 diabetes. So that's how injury can contribute to diabetes. You can think of almost any disease, and injury could be a factor contributing to that disease. Don't go away. I'll be back very shortly to continue this conversation on how injury contributes to diseases. This is Expose brought to you by the Shepherd's Flock International Church. I'm your regular host, Tony Akinyemi. What we need is not more medication, but more education, and the best prescription is knowledge. I'll be back shortly. I believe you've been having a terrific time with me on Expose with Tony Akinyemi. We have great resources that will bless your life available to you on healthy living and many other life subjects. We have various platforms where you can obtain materials for your blessing. You can obtain some of our work, our books, particularly on Amazon.com. How to Regain and Retain Your Health is a book title that I highly recommend. It's available in digital format, Kindle edition, as well as in printed version. We also have juices and smoothies for healing, health, and pleasure. You can also find these items at another website, familabooks.com, F-A-M-I-L-A books.com. And for those of you who are in Nigeria, you can reach us at the Shepherd Store, 18 Shogunle Street, off Mobolaji Bank Anthony Way, behind HFS Place, to get our materials. We have over 600 recorded audio CDs, DVDs, VCDs, and MP3s on various subjects. All these things that I teach on Expose are already available in their complete format. How to reverse hypertension naturally, how to reverse diabetes naturally, how to reverse arthritis naturally, and many other wonderful titles. I encourage you to visit this website, Amazon.com, familabooks.com, or TSF bookstores in Ikeja, Lagos, Nigeria, and you will be blessed reading those materials and sharing them with your friends and family. Thank you once again. God bless you. Welcome back to Expose, brought to you by the Shepherd's Flock International Church. I'm your regular host, Tony Akinyemi. We're discussing DATIISS, the cause of disease. We have dealt with deficiencies, we have dealt with abuses, we have dealt with toxicity. Now we are dealing with injury. And we have looked at the fact that injury can be a factor in the causation of diseases. We have looked at how injuries can contribute to diseases. The second part I want to look at today, before we finish off, is what are the different types of injuries. Now, an understanding of that will help us to prevent injuries. But before then, let me remind you again, or probably tell those who are hearing it for the first time, that we have an institute where we train people on healthy living. It's called Rafa Institute of Healthy Living. Our website will be displayed for you on the screen to see, rafainstitute.org. You can go there right now after this streaming and register for our next module that is coming up March 10 to 13, 2021, Module 1 classes for those who have never attended our institute. We have them in modules, Module 1, Module 2, Module 3, and so on. So you need to attend Module 1 to qualify to attend subsequent modules. The Module 1 gives you the fundamentals, the foundation that you need to have on the principles of healthy living. Those who have attended it, over 1,000 people to date, have passed through our Module 1 classes, and it's always a life changer. Just go there and register right now. Don't wait until March to be too late. In fact, those who register before March 1 are entitled to a discount, 5,000 naira discount on the tuition. Those who register after March 1 will pay the full tuition. Those who register before March 1 get a discount. Don't browse at lastminute.com. Now, so let's get back to our conversation on injury. There are 5 types of injuries, and each of them can precipitate disease. The first type is called gross injury, and that's the one that many of us are familiar with. If somebody falls from a motorbike or a bicycle or is involved in an auto crash and suffers injuries all over the body, that is called gross injury. If I'm cooking in the kitchen, I'm cutting tomato, cutting onions, cutting okra, and the knife slips and cuts my finger, that's gross injury. If I'm trying to walk the stairs and my leg slips and I roll down the stairs and suffer bruises all over the place, that's gross injury. God forbid, if I'm in a brawl or in a fight with somebody and somebody gives me a blow in the mouth and one tooth flies out, that is gross injury. See, anything that breaks the bone or traumatizes the muscles, the tissues, causes bleeding or damage physically, that is called gross injury. Now, we need to put certain things, certain measures in place to prevent gross injury. Because if a person suffers gross injury, it can lead to permanent damage. Sometimes the damage may be repairable. Sometimes it may not be repairable, and that can lead to permanent disability. Some people have ended up on wheelchairs because of gross injury. So let's prevent gross injury. The second type of injury is called repetitive stress injury. That is when you repeatedly stress a part of your body. That can cause injury to that part of your body. For example, if your eyes always look at the screen of your computer, for example, particularly those old computers that have cathode ray tubes, you have static electricity, and light always staring your eyes. That can affect your vision over the years. It can cause vision impairment. Your eyes may not be as clear. Your vision may not be as acute as it used to be because of repetitive stress injury. If you're a welder and you're welding and that bright light and you don't wear safety goggles to prevent sparks from hitting your eyes or the bright light from going into your eyes, then you can injure your eyes over the years. You are repeatedly stressing your eyes with the bright light from your welding activity. That's repetitive stress injury. Or you are a high court judge and you do longhand in writing your judgment. You write and write and write and write and write. By the time you have written for 10 years or thereabout, you find that your neck and your shoulder can freeze and you have to be wearing neck braces because of repetitive stress injury. Anything you do that you use one part of your body to repeatedly do and you do not find ways to relieve the stress in that part of the body can lead to repetitive stress injury. I'm sure you are familiar with people who look at their phone and they bend their head like this and they have neck pain after several years of doing that. Okay? Phone neck, maybe they should call it, or cellular neck. That is a repetitive stress injury because you have stressed your neck for months, for years, and you have created a lot of pressure in that part of your body that is causing pain or discomfort or disorder. That is as a result of repetitive stress injury. Okay? Now, there are people who use parts of their body. Maybe you place this part of the body on the ground. After some time, you see the skin of that place becomes harder. That place develops callus. That is repetitive stress injury as a result of repeatedly stressing that part of your body. That's the second type of injury that can lead to certain disorders. The third type of injury is intangible. It is called emotional injury. When somebody is emotionally traumatized, psychologically traumatized, either by using abusive words or by neglect or by various ways of traumatizing people emotionally, that can lead to some mental health conditions. It can lead to depression, clinical depression. It can lead to all kinds of disorders in the mental health region. So emotional injury, that's why you should mind your language. Mind the way you talk to people, because you can cause injuries to them. That injury can lead to disease. Some people can commit suicide as a result of emotional injury, psychological injury. Okay? And then the fourth one is cellular injury. When the individual cells in our bodies get injured because of the chemicals that we put inside, the toxins that we put inside, they injure the body and then cause disease. Damage glands, damage tissues, damage organs, and that can lead to disease. That's called cellular injury. I'm not talking about cell phones now. I'm talking about the cells, the individual cells of the body that have been injured by toxins or by chemicals and things that have been allowed into the body. Okay? Then the final one is electromagnetic injury. EMF, ionizing radiation in particular. When you are exposed to radiation, that can cause injury and that can lead to disease. It can cause cancer, it can cause leukemia, it can cause lymphoma, it can cause all kinds of problems, okay, when we're exposed to radiation. We need to protect ourselves from radiation damage because that can be electromagnetic injury. So those who have their workshops or their shops or who build under high tension power, wow, high tension cables, that will cause electromagnetic injury. I believe that telecommunication masts, when you allow it in your premises, can cause electromagnetic injury. Even the gadgets we use in our kitchens, like our microwave oven, can emit radiation that can cause electromagnetic injury. When you do certain medical procedures like X-rays, like radiotherapy, what have you, they can cause electromagnetic injury. And so you need to protect yourself. Of course, some of these things might be necessary sometimes for diagnostic purposes or therapeutic purposes, but then understand that nonetheless, they still can cause electromagnetic injury. So this is how far we go today on injury. Injury can cause disease, and there are different types of injuries, and we need to institute measures to prevent injuries so we don't lay the foundation for disease or permanent disability. Thank you for your time with me today. Before I go, I want to again emphasize, join us at Rafa Institute of Healthy Living. Register at rafainstitute.org. That will be displayed on your screen. rafainstitute.org. Register for Module 1 coming up March 10 to 13, 2021. It's an evening event, a night event, so it does not disturb you from going to work if you live in West Africa in particular. It's starting 6 p.m. in the evening and finishing about 10 p.m. so you can go to work and come back and do the online class and be equipped for healthy living. Thank you and God bless you. Don't forget, what we need is not more medication, but more education. For the best prescription is knowledge. Thank you, God bless you, and bye-bye. What we need is not more medication, but more education, because the best prescription is knowledge. This is Expose coming to you live from Lagos, Nigeria, every Monday on Instagram, YouTube, and Facebook simultaneously. I'm your regular host, Tony Akinyemi. Don't forget, what we need is not more medication, but more education, because the best prescription is knowledge.